I am noticing in my workflow deployments in SMBs that there is a through line. If the problem is strategically material and relevant enough, then from the database to the, let's say, workflows, there is an extra kind of pull through up to like board metrics, KPIs that naturally fall out of those operating metadata. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients has very high ACV, annual contract values, for their B2B clients, so like seven figures per contract at a minimum. And so when a project manager says our go live date, like our original go live date is going to be May 1st, but then it slips five times and the actual go live date is September 1st, well, that's 4 months in which that amount of revenue wasn't recognized. That's a huge deal. But from a project manager standpoint, they may not see that, right? They're just like, well, the customer went on vacation and then someone got pregnant and then we were delayed for one release or whatever, right? So um, we built a date slippage tracker in, like, we embedded, like, built a custom date slippage tracker into the projects and task template of Notion. And so now we've got quantitative data about, by project manager, how many, like on average, how many times does this project manager's dates slip versus this one? And for each one that slipped, why did it slip, right? We've got like a drop down list for the reasons, like the customer caused it or we caused it or whatever. So now that the COO and the board have gotten used to seeing these KPI metrics, that might be redundant, these KPI numbers, whatever, that tell this story. Now the use of that Notion solution is kind of, it's required,
Yep.
right? And so instead of just kind of building something that looks cool and solves a particular problem, if we can connect it to something that's going to show up into a board meeting, then we've kind of got a built-in insurance policy that it's going to kind of keep a life of its own.
Yep. Yeah, I think that goes back to the kind of first thing we were talking about as well, right? Is like when you're going through that journey of that development process and thinking of like what is the process today, maybe the process changes before our solution's built. Sometimes you build solutions that inform new process, or sometimes vice versa. When you know that there's a process, like going into that situation, hey, there's these KPIs that we need and we are missing them today. Let's build a solution to kind of fix that. But very much so, it happens the other way where you're kind of going through the building out this solution, and then you start to kind of identify and have to go back and change some fundamental things, because you start realizing, hey, now that we have X, Y, and Z, we can get this other insight. And
Yeah.
sometimes that kind of informs process, because before, when you're using a tool and that's kind of defined your process, you're looking at it with a specific view. But if the new view, essentially are taking a step back so you can see more of the picture and the kind of systems design thinking, then new things reveal themselves of, hey, now we can create this KPI, or we can create this dashboard, or we can create this view, that X person or a C-level exec can go look at. And then you create dependencies, and then that turns into, how can we do this for this other thing, and creates more work, which is where the tech debt and refinement comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you just hit on one of the magic value unlockers of Notion, is that we SMBs and we have become so habituated to grabbing the next point SaaS solution to solve our business problem, of course, which each point SaaS solution has its contained data and database, um, that we've almost lost sight of how powerful it is when we centralize all that data. And so
Yep.
unexpected business intelligence becomes available to you by connecting two or three or four data sources that previously were siloed in different tools. So yeah,
Yeah, and it's not just data like warehouse type of thing where it's just all the data is kind of getting like pushed into one place, right? It's data that's being manipulated and stretched and used and processed all within the tool, in this case, Notion. So it's not just like, go dump a bunch of data and it's formatted incorrectly and it's not usable. This is stuff that's being used every single day, where it sits essentially. So
Right. Right. It's living, it's refreshed, it's expressing the actual work that's being done in real time. Yeah, totally agree.